Every week, tune in, don't miss out on Zinwaves TV, where we talk and shout.
The Democratic Alliance's DA decision to potentially form a coalition with the African National Congress, ANC, after initially championing the Moonshot Pact, represents a significant political pivot. The Moonshot Pact was conceived to unite opposition parties against the ANC and prevent a coalition between the ANC and the Economic Freedom Fighters, EFF, which the DA strongly opposed. DA leader John Steenhuisen had framed the pact as a way to save South Africa from the perceived threats of an ANC-EFF alliance. The Moonshot Pact was a strategic move designed to consolidate opposition forces against the ANC, which the DA viewed as the primary threat to South Africa's democratic and economic stability. By rallying various opposition parties, the DA aimed to create a formidable bloc that could challenge the ANC's dominance and prevent an alliance with the EFF, which was seen as even more radical and potentially destabilizing. John Steenhuisen's advocacy for the pact underscored the DA's commitment to countering what it perceived as the negative impacts of an ANC-FF coalition, positioning the DA as a unifying force among opposition parties. However, the political landscape changed dramatically after the 2024 elections, where the ANC received its worst ever performance, securing only 41% of the vote. This poor showing made it impossible for the ANC to govern alone, pushing them to seek coalition partners. The DA, along with the Inkatha Freedom Party, IFP, decided to engage in talks with the ANC to form a government of national unity, GNU. IFP President Vilenkosi Hlabisa emphasized the need for stability and prioritizing the country's well-being over political rivalry. The 2024 elections marked a turning point, with the ANC experiencing a significant decline in voter support, garnering only 41% of the vote, their lowest ever. This electoral outcome forced the ANC to seek coalition partners to maintain governance. In response, the DA, traditionally an opposition party, found itself in discussions with the ANC, alongside the IFP, to form a GNU. This shift was framed by IFP President Vilenkosi Hlabisa as a pragmatic move to ensure national stability, highlighting the importance of prioritizing South Africa's broader interests over partisan conflicts. Critics argue that this move by the DA is a betrayal of its core supporters and its previous stance, which painted the ANC as the primary adversary. The DA's coalition partners in the Moonshot Pact, such as Action SA, expressed significant concerns, suggesting that such actions erode trust and could be seen as a political flip-flop. The decision to engage in coalition talks with the ANC has been met with criticism, particularly from the DA's core supporters and Moonshot Pact partners like Action SA. These critics view the move as a stark departure from the DA's established position, which had consistently portrayed the ANC as the main antagonist. The apparent reversal has been described as a political flip-flop, raising concerns about eroding trust and credibility among the DA's base and allied parties. This perceived betrayal underscores the delicate balance the DA must maintain between pragmatic governance and staying true to its foundational principles. On the other hand, some defend the DA's decision as a pragmatic approach to ensure stability and prevent an ANC-EFF government, which they believe would be detrimental to South Africa's future. This perspective suggests that forming a GNU could allow the DA influence government policies more effectively and steer the ANC towards more centrist and reformist positions. Supporters of the DA's decision argue that it reflects a necessary pragmatism aimed at ensuring political stability and averting the perceived dangers of an ANC-FF alliance. By participating in a GNU, the DA could potentially exert substantial influence over government policies, guiding the ANC towards more centrist and reform-oriented positions. This strategic involvement could enable the DA to mitigate some of the risks associated with an ANC-AFF partnership, which many believe would pose significant challenges to South Africa's future. Whether the ANC will be swayed by DA's policies remains to be seen. Historically, the ANC has been resistant to adopting opposition policies wholesale, but the necessity of coalition politics might force compromises. The success of this coalition and its impact on the ANC's future electoral prospects will depend largely on how well these parties can cooperate and deliver on their promises to the South African people. The potential for the ANC to be influenced by DA policies is uncertain. Historically, the ANC has shown resistance to adopting opposition policies in their entirety. However, the dynamics of coalition politics might necessitate compromises that could lead to policy shifts. The ultimate success of this coalition and its influence on future electoral prospects for the ANC will hinge on the ability of these parties to cooperate effectively and fulfill their commitments to the electorate. The outcomes of this partnership will be closely scrutinized, determining whether this strategic pivot will yield the desired stability and reform. In summary, the DA's shift from the Moonshot Pact to negotiating with the ANC represents a significant strategic pivot that blends elements of political pragmatism with the inherent risks of perceived betrayal among its supporters. The long-term impact of this decision will depend on the coalition's ability to work together and achieve meaningful outcomes for South Africa.